The sound of breaking glass was the last thing 6-year-old Jungu heard before everything went silent. One moment, his mother was singing softly in the front seat. His father was laughing at something on the radio. His little sister was poking his arm, trying to steal his snack. And then nothing. Just darkness, and the smell of smoke, and sirens that came too late. Jungu woke up in a hospital with a bandage around his head, and no family left to hold his hand. He was 6 years old, and he was completely alone. The years that followed were not kind to him. He moved from one relative to another, from one cold room to the next. Nobody wanted the burden of raising someone else's child. By the time he was 12, he had learned how to cook his own meals, wash his own clothes, and put himself to sleep without anyone saying goodnight. By the time he was 16, he had learned something even harder, that the world does not stop moving just because your heart is broken. But Jungu was not the kind of person who sat down and cried forever. He was the kind of person who got up, wiped his face, and kept walking. He went to school every single day, even when his stomach was empty. He read books under streetlights when the electricity in his room was cut off. He took every small job he could find. Washing dishes, carrying heavy bags at the market, cleaning offices late at night. Whatever it took. He was not going to let hunger win. He was not going to let loneliness win. By the time he finished university, Jungu had a degree in business administration and hands that were rough from years of hard work. He was proud of both. But the job market did not care about pride. He sent application after application to company after company. He rewrote his CV so many times the paper started to feel tired. He dressed up in his only good shirt, took buses across the city for interviews, smiled at people who looked at him like he didn't belong in the room, and then came home to silence. Nothing came through. Still, he did not stop. During the day, he cleaned cars at a wash park near the city center. It was not the job he dreamed of, but it was honest work. He scrubbed every vehicle like it was his own. He made sure every mirror was spotless, every tire was wiped down, every inch of every car looked like it had just rolled out of a showroom. That was the kind of man Jungu was. Whatever he touched, he did it with everything he had. And that right there was what changed his life forever. It was a Thursday morning, the kind where the sky couldn't decide if it wanted to rain or not. A long black car pulled into the wash park. The kind of car that made people stop and stare. Jungu didn't stare. He picked up his cloth and walked over. He worked quietly, carefully, the way he always did. He was polishing the rear window when he heard the door open behind him. "Hey!" Jungu turned around. A man stood there watching him. He looked to be in his mid-50s, well-dressed, with sharp eyes that didn't miss anything. "Yes, sir," Jungu said. "You've been working on this car for 20 minutes, the man said. "Most people rush. You didn't." Jungu wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a complaint. "I just want to do it right, sir." The man tilted his head. "What's your name?" "Jungu." "How old are you, Jungu?" 26. The man crossed his arms. "What else do you do besides clean cars?" And there it was. The question Jungu had been waiting for someone, anyone, to ask him for years. Not to mock him, not to pity him, just to ask. He stood a little straighter. "I have a degree in business administration. I've been applying to companies for almost 2 years. This job keeps me going while I wait." The man was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Send your application to Koune Group. Tell them I sent you. My name is Mr. Koune." Jungu blinked. "Koune Group? As in?" "Yes," Mr. Koune said simply. Then he got into his car. Jungu stood there holding a polishing cloth, his heart doing something strange in his chest. Koune Group was one of the biggest companies in the country. People with connections and expensive suits applied there. People who had fathers who made phone calls on their behalf. Not people like him. But he sent the application that same night. And 3 days later he got a call. If you're new here, subscribe right now because this channel is where stories like this live. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. And if this story is already gripping you, go ahead and like the video. It helps more than you know. The Koune Group headquarters was the kind of building that made you feel small just by looking at it. Glass walls, polished floors, people walking with purpose in every direction. Jungu stood at the entrance in his one good shirt, freshly pressed, shoes cleaned until they almost shone. He walked in. Mr. Koune met him at the lobby himself, which Jungu did not expect. The older man shook his hand firmly and led him to a conference room where a woman was already waiting. She stood when they entered. She was tall, dark-skinned, with natural hair pinned neatly and eyes that were calm and intelligent. She wore a well-fitted jacket the color of midnight blue, and there was something about the way she carried herself that told Jungu immediately, this was not a woman who took nonsense from anyone. Jungu, Mr. Koune said, meet Peace. She's one of my most trusted managers. You'll be working directly under her. Peace looked at Jungu. Jungu looked at Peace. Welcome, she said. Her voice was smooth and professional. I've seen your results. They're impressive. Thank you, Jungu said. I worked hard for them. Something passed across her face, amusement maybe, or something else entirely. We'll see if the work here matches the paper, she said. It wasn't rude, but it wasn't warm either. Jungu simply nodded. He had not come this far to be shaken by a cool welcome. He had been through too much for that. And so it began. The first few weeks were a blur of spreadsheets, reports, and long hours. But Jungu did not complain. He came in early and left late. He asked questions when he didn't understand something, and he remembered every answer. He was not there to look good. He was there to actually be good. Peace noticed. She didn't say it out loud, but he could tell. She started giving him bigger tasks, more responsibility. She would drop a thick file on his desk and say, I need this broken down by Friday, and Jungu would have it done by Wednesday. You always do more than what's asked, she said one evening when the office was almost empty. Anything worth doing is worth doing fully, Jungu said. Peace looked at him for a long second. Then she turned back to her screen without another word. But he caught the tiny curve at the edge of her mouth. They were not friends. But they were becoming something, a team maybe. Two people who took their work seriously and respected that in each other. And then, about 3 months in, Jungu noticed something. Started small. A number that didn't add up in a quarterly report. A transfer that was listed under one account but should have appeared under another. He told himself it was probably a mistake. Everyone made mistakes. He fixed it quietly and moved on. But then it happened again. And again. And the amounts were not small. Jungu sat at his desk one late night, the office silent around him, staring at his screen with a heavy feeling growing in his stomach. He traced the numbers carefully, one by one, going back through months of records. And what he found made his blood run cold. Money was leaving the company. Not all at once, that would be too obvious. It was going slowly, carefully, in amounts that looked like normal business expenses. But when you added them all together, it was enormous. And every single trail, no matter how he followed it, led back to one place. Peace. Jungu sat back in his chair and pressed his hands flat on the desk. His mind was racing. He thought about what to do. He could go straight to Mr. Koune. He could report it immediately. But something stopped him. He wanted to be absolutely sure. He needed to be certain before he said a word, because accusing someone of this, someone Mr. Koune trusted completely, was not something he could take back. So he kept watching. And the more he watched, the clearer it became. We're about 3 minutes into the story now. If you haven't liked the video yet, do it now. And keep watching, because this is where everything starts to get complicated. Finally, one afternoon when the rest of the team had gone for lunch, Jungu walked to Peace's office and knocked. Come in, she said. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. He stood there, calm, and looked at her directly. I need to talk to you about something serious, he said. She looked up from her work. Okay. I've been going through the accounts, he said, and I found things that don't make sense. Money going out through expense codes that don't match any actual expense. Transfers that don't have proper authorization. I've traced all of it. He paused. Peace. I know what's happening. The room went very quiet. Peace slowly put down her pen. She looked at him for a long moment, and something shifted behind her eyes. The professional calm was still there, But underneath it, something else moved. Something tight and guarded. "You don't know what you're talking about," she said. "I do," Jungu said, his voice still quiet. "And I'm not here to destroy you. I'm here because I think you need to stop. Mr. Koune is not a hard man. He's the one who pulled me off the street and gave me a chance. If you're struggling, if you need something, just talk to him. He will listen." Peace stared at him. For just one moment. One tiny, cracked open moment. Something real passed across her face. Something that looked almost like pain. Then it closed back up. "Stay out of things that don't concern you, Jungu," she said softly. "I'm warning you." He held her gaze. "I hope you make the right choice," he said. Then he walked out. He thought maybe she would stop. He hoped she would. But Peace did not stop. Instead, she got more careful. And she got dangerous. It started with small things. A comment here and there to Mr. Koune about Jungu's attitude. A suggestion that he was not a team player. Then one day, she submitted a report that had Jungu's name on it. A report full of errors that Jungu had never written. She presented it to Mr. Koune as evidence that Jungu was not performing. "Sir, I've been patient," she told Mr. Koune in his office, her voice full of quiet concern. "But I have to be honest with you. Jungu is causing problems. These errors here, they're serious. And his attitude toward me has become difficult to manage." Mr. Koune looked at the report with a frown. "This doesn't seem like the young man I brought in. People are not always what they appear," Peace said gently. Mr. Koune called Jungu in that same day. His tone was different, cooler, more distant. "I'm hearing concerns," he said, "about your work quality, about how you're conducting yourself." Jungu felt the floor tilt slightly beneath him. He knew exactly what was happening. And he knew if he reacted with anger, he would lose. So he breathed slowly and said, "Sir, I would never disrespect this company or the opportunity you gave me. I ask that you please look at my actual work record. Not a single report that I did not produce." Mr. Koune said nothing, but his expression said enough. "We're at the 5-minute mark. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. And stay with us, because this story is about to reach its boiling point." Things got tense after that. Peace walked the office like nothing had happened. She smiled. She was charming with the other staff. She made Jungu look like the problem wherever she could. And Jungu could feel the ground shifting under him. The way people started looking at him differently, the way conversations stopped when he walked into a room. But he did not panic. He went back to the numbers. He documented everything, every irregular transfer, every false expense code, every trace of money that had disappeared. He organized it carefully, thoroughly, the way he had been taught to do things. Completely, properly, with everything he had. And then one morning, Mr. Koune called a full staff meeting. Everyone gathered in the main conference room. Every employee, every team lead, every manager. Mr. Koune stood at the front. Peace stood slightly to the side, composed and elegant as always. Jungu walked in last. He carried a folder. He sat down quietly. Mr. Koune began to speak about company performance, about direction, about trust. And then he paused and looked at Jungu. "I've been told there are some concerns about your conduct," he said. "This is the right place to address them. Do you have anything to say?" Every face in the room turned toward Jungu. He stood up slowly. He opened his folder. "Sir," he said, his voice calm and clear, "I have a great deal to say, and I think after today, many things will be clear." He walked to the front of the room. He laid the documents on the table, printed, organized, numbered. He explained each one simply, without drama. He showed exactly where the money had gone. He showed the account numbers. He showed the dates. He showed the false expense codes. He showed the transfers and where they had landed outside the company, in accounts tied to a new business. A business that was being built with Mr. Koune's own money, without his knowledge. The room was completely silent. Mr. Koune's face had gone very still. He looked at the papers. He looked at the numbers. And then he looked up at Peace. Peace was no longer smiling. "Is this true?" Mr. Koune asked. His voice was low, very low. Peace opened her mouth, closed it. opened it again. It's not. Those numbers are out of context. Peace. His voice was quiet, but it stopped her cold. I trusted you. Those 3 words hit harder than any shout could have. The silence that followed was the loudest thing in the room. We're at the halfway point. If this story is hitting you, like the video and keep watching. The best part is still coming. What happened next moved quickly. Mr. Koune brought in the company's legal and financial team that same afternoon. They went through every record Jungu had flagged. Every single one checked out. Every number told the same story. Peace was removed from her position that day. Every investment she had built with money taken from the company was seized. Mr. Koune did not shout. He did not make a scene. He simply made sure that what was his was returned, and that the person who had taken it was no longer welcome in any space he owned. Jungu stood by his desk as the afternoon wound down, not sure what came next. He had done what was right, but doing what was right does not always mean things end well for you. He had learned that lesson already many times. Then Mr. Koune's assistant appeared at his door. Mr. Koune would like to see you. He walked into the office. Mr. Koune was standing by the window, looking out over the city. He turned when Jungu came in. Do you know why I stopped at that car wash? He asked. Jungu shook his head. I stop somewhere different every week, Mr. Koune said. I like to watch ordinary people work. I learn more from that than from any business meeting. He paused. Most people perform when they think someone important is watching. You didn't perform. You just worked. You just worked. That told me everything I needed to know about who you are. Jungu said nothing. He wasn't sure his voice would hold. I should have listened to you more carefully when things started going wrong, Mr. Koune said. Instead, I let someone else's words cloud my judgment. That was my failure, not yours. He looked at Jungu directly. Peace's position is empty. I want you to take it. Jungu stared at him. Sir. Not as a reward, Mr. Koune said firmly. As a result. There is a difference. Everything that has landed in your lap, this job, this chance, what happens today, none of it came to you because you were lucky. It came to you because of the kind of man you are. That is yours. Nobody gave you that. Jungu stood very still. And for the first time in a very long time, he thought of his mother singing in the front seat. His father laughing at the radio. His little sister reaching for his snack. He had carried them with him through every hard year. Through every empty stomach and every cold room and every rejection letter. And somehow, impossibly, he had carried them all the way here. Thank you, sir, he said. His voice was steady. Mr. Koune nodded. Now go do what you do. Properly. Jungu's life changed after that. Not in an overnight fairy tale way, but in the slow, solid, real way that things change when they are built on something true. He showed up every morning with the same discipline he had brought to every car he had ever cleaned, every exam he had ever sat, every application he had ever sent. He led his team the way he wished someone had led him, honestly, firmly, and with patience. People noticed, and the company grew. Jungu never forgot where he came from. Not the hospital room, not the cold houses, not the polishing cloth and the car park and the early mornings before anyone else arrived. He kept all of it, because all of it made him someone who understood that hard work is not a backup plan. It is the plan. It is the whole plan. It is everything. And if you are sitting somewhere right now, tired, overlooked, wondering if any of it is worth it, this story is for you. Keep going. Do it fully. Do it right. Because someone somewhere is watching. And even if they are not, you are watching yourself. And that is what matters most. If the story moved you like the video right now, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to this channel because we tell stories about real strength, real struggle, and real triumph. And drop a comment below. Tell us where you're watching from, and tell us what part of Jungu's story hit you the hardest. We'll see you in the next one.